Hello everyone, DJ here. Let's talk about a skill that everyone in the Navy Reserve should have. In addition to being able to read your leave and earnings statement, or LES, everyone should be able to understand their retirement point statement. Don't worry, this will not be an in-depth video, just the very basics of what you need to know. But why, DJ? I'm just going to be in the Navy Reserve for a few years and then I'm getting out. Well, this statement actually tells you more than what you'll be getting as a monthly pension if you serve for 20 years or more. It tells you if you are eligible for other types of benefits as well. There will be a separate episode about those types of benefits later on. For now, let's focus on the retirement and pension side of things. Let me say from the outset that this episode will be much easier to understand if you have your very own point statement in front of you. If you don't have one, then ask your full-time staff to pull a copy for you. It's also possible to find a copy in your electronic personnel record or to pull a copy yourself from BuPERS online. I will post instructions on how to do this in the resources section of this episode, by the way. You will need a common access card to access BuPERS. You should be aware of that. The point statement in the Navy Reserve is called the Annual Retirement Point Record, or Annual Statement of Service History, so ARPR or ASOSH. It displays your retirement points from top to bottom, from the previously completed retirement year down to the earliest. If you're familiar with the old Dragnet show, it is just the facts, man. And that's what we're after in this game, after all, just the facts. I will also put a link to a very handy how to read guide in the notes for this episode. I will be using this guide as my talking points during this episode, so it would also be useful if you had a copy of that alongside with your personal retirement point statement. This will help you gain a better understanding of what you see and be able to interpret some of the strange codes you might be seeing as well. So let's move on. The first section of your point statement shows your date of birth, your name, and your social security number. That's pretty simple. But now we move into the meat of this lesson. Below the name line, you'll see your service history. This is a very busy but informative section which summarizes every year of your service. The last entry should be the time at which you join the military in any status, the very first time. Entries in these columns are usually, but will not necessarily be 1-year increments. I should say lines, not columns. Whether or not they are full years will depend on whether you had a break in service or not. After the from and to columns in these statements, we have the why column. This displays a code which reflects your military status during this time period, such as active component service or civilian break. There is a legend at the bottom of the statement which tells you what each code means. Now, the next 4 columns across the top of the headers only are DR/FD, course, GRAT, G-R-A-T, and INAC, I-N-A-C. Let's go into what each of those means. The DR/FD column shows your inactive duty points during that given time. It combines both your drill points and points earned from performing funeral honors details. The course column shows the number of points you earned from the completion of distance learning courses, divided by 3, since you earn 1 point for every 3 hours of correspondence learning. The next column, the GRAT column, shows how many membership points you earned during this period. You can earn up to 15 membership points or gratuitous points for each full year in a reserve component. Lastly, The INAC column shows the total of the DR, FD, course, and GRAT columns. Now let's do a little experiment. Add the number of points from the DR/FD column, course, and GRAT columns, but only for one time frame. Now let's look at a limitation to those points. So if that time period was 1946 up to 23 September 1996, the limit for that time period was 60. If the period was 24 September 1996 to 30 October 2000, the limit for those points was 75. If the time frame was 31 October 2000 to 29 October 2007, the limit was 90. And if the time frame was from 30 October 2007 up to today, the limit was 130. So if the total number of points you had for that line is greater than the limit I just described, your points from those three columns will be reduced to the number I mentioned. This is a bit of a trick, though. While funeral honors points are technically another type of inactive duty point, they are not subject to the point limits I just mentioned. In other words, they're treated like active duty points. This is to encourage people to participate in funeral honors details. Now let's move on. The next column is AT/ADT. This displays the number of active duty points, such as your annual trainings or mobilizations, which you have earned. The only limit to ADT points is the number of days in a year. You can earn 1 point per day. Now let's go all the way to the active column. Here you will see the total number of points you have earned from each category of point, in active duty, correspondence, etc. Keep in mind that the year in which you are currently serving will not appear until the retirement year is completed or until you separate from service, whichever comes first. The next column, total, shows the number of points earned or the points remaining after the point limits that I just mentioned have been applied. In other words, it's creditable points. Only this column will be used when computing the total retired pay you will receive. Now we come to the satisfactory column. If the time period is a full year and you have at least 50 points for that year, then the column will reflect 1 year, space 00 months, space 00 days. And each of those words, year, month, day, are abbreviated to one letter, YMD. If the time is less than a year and you have enough points prorated from 50 for that time to count, then you will see however many months and days are creditable. If you have a full year and less than 50 points, you will see 0 years, 0 months, 0 days. This means that particular year will not count for retirement purposes. It still counts for pay purposes, not retirement. You will need to serve another year to make up for that bad year. Now let's go to qualifying years of service, the next line. If you're looking at the guide, this and the next line are partially obscured by a text box I have added. But this line is the total number of qualifying years of service for retirement that you have earned. You will see the total number of points you have earned from active duty service, inactive duty service, and all other columns in that next line. Now let's assume that you're currently serving and your total creditable service equals 19 years, 11 months, and 15 days. Well, this does not mean that you only need to serve 15 more days in order to have 20 creditable years of service. The retirement points database in the Navy Reserve only recognizes full years. You need to complete a full retirement year before that database will recognize that you have 20 qualifying years of service, and it will then, and only then, issue a notice of eligibility for retired pay, or 20-year letter as we know it colloquially. If you have service which qualifies for reduced retirement age, you will need to do some record keeping in order to claim that eligibility. Don't worry, it's not hard. Unlike the Army National Guard, whose point statement shows how much of a reduction in your retirement age you have, the other components, the other reserve components, do not show that. Your statement also does not break qualifying periods such as mobilizations down into separate lines for easy accounting. So you'll need to keep a few documents on hand when you are ready to apply for your retired pay. You'll need the following. You'll need copies of your active duty orders, all amendments to those orders, your release from active duty order, if applicable, and your DD-214 for that period. And you will need a set of these for each qualifying active duty period which is eligible for reduced retirement age. And you will need that in order to claim your eligibility for that reduced age. There are retirement service officers available from any reserve component who can assist you in examining these documents and figuring out just what your retired pay eligibility date is. If you do not have qualifying service to reduce your retirement age, then, like all other reservists, your eligibility date for pay is age 60. And believe it or not, that is it. Hopefully that was easy for everyone to understand. If not, please comment below and let me know what was confusing. I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. As always, I thank you for being a part of this audience, and thank you for your service.